Hello my dearest viewers, I have missed you because, well, actually as it happens, I've been moving house and I've not had Wi-Fi, so hence the uploads that I've been doing have all been old battles that I have been uploading for you, which, you know, I do have a shit ton of them. Sorry, I shouldn't swear, but I do have an absolute truckload, there you go, there's a better way to say it, a truckload of battles that I have been waiting to show you, and I'll still be getting them coming out. It's just, obviously, you might have noticed I've only been posting every 2 days as opposed to every day, just because I've not had Wi-Fi, but hey, Wi-Fi is back up, and I want to share with you a deck that I think is actually really good. So, most people really like to go for Special Forces and Armored. That is the American meta in many ways, and for good reason. I mean, I see a lot of merit to that deck as well. However, here's one that I want to share with you, and that's with the Airborne, and I'll tell you why I think it's really good and why it really works for some, not always, but for some situations. I definitely think this is the better overall sort of, you know, well-balanced American deck. America does seem to be a bit less, you know, a bit less variable than Russian decks, I find, in general. I mean, this is why I've got so many different Russian decks, but here's my Armor Special Forces deck, which I have a lot of fun with, an absolute lot of fun. But yeah, I want to try out the American Airborne and Armor division. So we'll see how we've got this deck built. So Recon. We are a bit thin on the Recon side. I actually hardly ever use vehicles for Recon just because of their really low stealth. Usually, I prefer to use snipers. However, as you can see in this case, I'll actually just throw an extra sniper in here. I've got 4 of these long-range 2400 with an even longer laser. So the 1.09 update, which is where we are, well, 0.1, gives vehicles an even longer laser, which does make sense. Kind of, you know, obviously lasers can go a lot longer than 3 kilometers, as can, you know, handheld ones, but yeah, whatever. For the sake of the game, it does make sense. Vehicles obviously have more powerful lasers. The drone one, I actually don't know what the range on the drone laser is, and if anyone does know, please let me know in the comments. Surely it should be even longer than this thing. So yeah, not too sure, but yeah, so here we go. Here is our 4 sets of Humvees with the laser guided. I've obviously stuck a 50 cal on it just because that can actually do damage to helicopters, whereas this one, you know, it does a bit of damage, but nowhere near enough as much as I'd want it to do. So yeah, this is where we got the 50 on this vehicle. I would like to have an armored knight, but clearly I can't afford it. You know what, maybe it'd be even better to get one of these on with its cheeky little upgrade there. You know what, let's try that. Let's just have one for kicks, because that can shoot down helicopters even better than the 50, obviously. Yeah, I am still learning. I'm still experimenting. You know, that speed is woeful. This speed is obviously something that makes this vehicle very appealing. Global Hawk has the longest view in the game. Obviously, it's not stealth though, which means that it is going to get shot down by radar. Very pricey. I've only got one of those in the deck for that reason. And Cavalry Scouts. Now, because I don't have too much Recon in this tab, you know, I don't have Force Recon or Special Forces guys to fill up this deck, I've put the AMPVs in here. So the Cav Scouts, the only reason I've got them is just so I can have AMPVs. Hold on, they're not the upgraded version, and that is actually a mistake. I always like to have my AMPVs very much upgraded, and you know what, I'm happy taking the tank out. So yeah, I guess I saved that wrong or something like that, but here we are. Okay, slight little modification on the fly. I like to have the AMPVs maxed out. Maxing them out makes them actually quite decent, quite bearable. Having them on the minimums is kind of painful. You definitely don't want that. You do want it absolutely maxed out, because look at how much better it gets. For triple the value, so 50 points on basics, which is still, that's actually a very good armored vehicle for that many points. But yeah. People have Bradley decks, and I do see the merit. You know, I do love how cool this Bradley looks, but I'd much rather a Javelin, because that's fire and forget, unlike the TOW, and the fact that you can get 12 men in the back of it is a win, as opposed to, obviously, 3 on the Scout version here. Anyway, I do have one of these Chadleys. I do love when people make Chadley decks. Like I said, literally just to give it a bit of firepower and a bit of recon, because these guys, yeah, they're starting to get a bit expensive. It's 75 points, just 15 more than these, and I just want to try it out more than anything. I don't think it's good. I don't think the cavalry scouts are good, by the way, either. But yeah, here we are. Now, the speedy transport I have is these, and you'll see a lot more of these vehicles, the ISVs, in my infantry deck as well. Now, look at this. It is a cool looking vehicle. Pretty impressive that I can get 8 men on it as well. Let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess the gunner is the 8th man somehow. Or here, wait, yeah, literally, where is the other seat? Because there's 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 here. That is 7. Alright, maybe just one guy clinging onto the back here, onto the metal bars and firing from the hip. You know how American cowboys love to do it. Fair enough. Right, so yeah, 50 cals on here, and I'm putting the 50s on there again because 50s can do damage to helis. So if I do fancy doing a cheeky Lima special, which you guys know I love too well, with Stinger teams on top, we just get a bit of extra firepower. And Mark 19s as well, because they're even better than 50s, but they can't shoot helicopters, hence we've got 2 and 4 50s. Right, infantry tab. So Russia lacks 80, America, unlike Russia, lacks 80 gems. However, TOW2s are cheap, especially in the A configuration, because realistically, the enemy can active protection block it or smoke, and you know, with a 1,600 meter range, I'm not counting on these to actually kill the enemy, more just to soften them up slightly, or to use their smoke and active protection. So for 65 points, that makes it very much worthwhile. We've got the one Humvee here. It's a token Humvee just for picking up pilots, really, because it's 30 points, the cheapest vehicle that I can get for saving my pilots. Right, otherwise I don't really use it. I'd use this instead, because obviously that can take 2 squads, whereas this can only take 1, or 1 big squad, of course. Now, what I love about the airborne deck is that you get 2 of stuff. So here we are, Stinger team. Are the TOW2? Yeah, they're airborne as well, aren't they? I don't know if they belong to the airborne or the armored. I believe it's airborne. Anyway, let me just double check that. I don't want to give you guys wrong information. So America, airborne. Where's the TOW team? Okay, it is an airborne unit. Cool. Yeah, the mechanized people don't really have too much, do they? So looking at this deck, what I do love about the Americans is they have 2 of stuff. So here, Stinger team, 2 Stingers. Perfect. I love double man pads. That is great. Here, double javelins. Even better. Now, I don't know why this is 1,300 and some javelins, not this one clearly, but on the AMPV, that javelin's 1,500 meter range, despite having the same stats. I don't really know why that is the case, why the game chooses to balance it like that. You know, a javelin can fire for a hefty range, and it's actually a great bit of kit. I've never had the pleasure of firing one myself or using it, but yeah, from what I've seen, it is fantastic. So getting them two in a squad is really brilliant. You know, 125 points for 2 machine guns as well. You know, some machine guns, don't overlook them. Don't underestimate them. 7.62, it's a good bit of suppressing fire in what is essentially an anti-vehicle squad. So yeah, great all-round squad. I do really love the weapon squad. As I said, yeah, backed up by the ISVs with some heavy firepower on top. Airborne. Now, airborne is an interesting one because I feel like a lot of players put it in the next-gen weapons. And what's interesting is, in reality, I think there's a lot of issues with this 6.8. Maybe not the actual round itself, but the weapons in the 6.8 configuration. From what I've been seeing, a lot of it on YouTube from weapon testers, etc., aren't actually working that well. So you do want them, well, obviously it's a game, and in the game they don't jam, they don't malfunction, they fire perfectly. But yeah, interesting that, you know, when you look at the stats, yeah, so the next gen does more penetration, but actually the standard does more damage, which is interesting. You get the same number of underbarrels and the same number of machine guns. Apart from these machine guns obviously pack a slightly bigger punch in the armor penetration category. When it comes to damage, the damage is better here. So yeah, the biggest difference though in these squads is the fact that the launcher, right? This is the Moors, very good launcher. However, it's on its own. So an 85 point squad with only 1 launcher doesn't cut the butter for me. Doesn't cut the mustard. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's good. This thing is good, and if you have obviously a couple of these squads, even better. But I'd much rather have 5 AT4s. AT4s are just brilliant, to be honest. I don't know why they work so well, but this is essentially close to a Marine squad, apart from you do get obviously underbarrels and machine guns, which is, yeah, I'd much rather run them in the cheaper configuration and bring out more other stuff. Anyway, for popping tanks close range, you want more launchers. Long range, we've got that covered with the javelins, so yeah, that's why we got that. Mech engineers, obviously for clearing out buildings, they're my designated super cheap CQB squad. I do have some fire support, so some infantry with double 50s, again, fantastic, double 50s, yes please, take that all day long. And double AGLs, although, can I take an extra? No, I can't afford it, damn, okay, we'll need to change the deck slightly. How's about we just bring in another transport? There we go, voila. More 50s on speedy wheels. I do love Lima specials. Keep an eye out for those. Right, so yeah, these are just basically a bit of fire support if I want to defend against infantry, really. I feel like these would be very useful in some of the missions, you know, the single player defending objective missions as well, which, you know, I like to use real decks for that. I don't like to use special mission decks. I think that's a bit like, it's not cheating, but like, you're welcome to do it. It's just not as interesting, you know. I like to role play it like a real battle group, taking and holding a position. Anyway, about this deck, I've called it Para, obviously, by the way, because it's airborne, and I do have a Para drop capable plane. I do think we should make Para dropping great again. Obviously, you do need seed, though. So if you want a successful Para drop, you kind of need seed, which is something I'm lacking in this deck, and I don't even have the option. Let's just talk about the air tab. Why not? Let's go for it. A bit of a random order. You guys know that I usually like to just follow the list down, but let's talk about the air tab. Why not? So yeah, paratrooper. I've been on a C-17. Yeah, cool. Very cool. I've been in the cockpit as well. How cool is that? Good little heads-up display for the pilots, which is interesting because usually you only get that on fighters, right? But no, you get that in the transport plane. C-17 is a good bit of kit. You can actually fit a tank. 2 tanks? No, 1 tank. Not potentially 2 tanks in the back of it, which is really cool. You can definitely fit a Chinook at the body. Obviously, you have to take the propellers off, obviously. Don't be silly. But what's interesting is the ECM that this gets is lasers trying to disrupt missiles. So only kind of works against IR missiles, but whatever, we'll call it 10 ECM. The game can have its bit of creative license. Right, anyway, so that is my paradrop plane. I've gone for this instead of the C-130 just because it's quicker, much quicker, so it's more likely to actually get to the destination before being shot down. 10% ECM, as we've discussed, which I think makes it worth it despite the obviously heftier price tag. And it can carry a lot more, which is, you know, like, that's not really the main concern. I'm never going to put 102 people with, you know, 75,000 kilos of stuff on it. Obviously not. But I just want it to be survivable. You know, 30 health, this is 30 health too, to be fair. But yeah, they both can go low altitude, both 15 flares. I hope this one is more survivable. We'll see how it goes. The Lancer is for firing cruise missiles. So instead of you know, seed, as we said, I am going to try and mark enemy radar positions and blow them up. Or obviously use them just for a bit of help during the battle. Anyway, these are cool. You definitely want it in this configuration as opposed to this one. You don't need 24 missiles. These missiles are a lot weaker as well, even though they are laser guided, which is a win. And they are a lot more accurate. So, you know what? Actually, scratch that. This is a good option too. But I'd rather just get in there, fire those, and get out. Fire them 4 at a time, because if you fire 8, the chances of this getting shot down are pretty high. So take 4, go around, shoot another 4. Cool plane in itself. I actually just really love the engineering of this thing. It's a really good looking plane too. Anyway, my other aircraft that I can take, not as much as Special Forces with air power build, or, you know, Marines, whatever, Striker group, but it's still a decent amount of points for air power. Eagle, I do love the Eagle, just because the variety of missiles it has actually makes it very formidable. So you can literally, for very cheap, for 240 points, you can fire 3 different missiles, so you can have 3 missiles in the air at the same time. I have upgraded, just give it a little bit of extra firepower. They are all fire and forget or terminal. Ah, the sparrows are semi-active. I thought that was the case. I will only take 2 of these then. Yeah, I completely did forget about that. The fact that they're semi-active, which means that the plane has to stay locked on. The plane guides those missiles. It's funny, I was watching a video about this last night, about how these were radar guided, which means that the plane's radar in the nose has to be facing the aircraft, and the missile has to be locked onto it that way. Whereas these have got their own source of guidance. I think Sidewinder, it doesn't say which model of the Sidewinder. There's actually, you know, from A, which is the early 60s development of the missile, to I think it's the X is the latest model. You know, you've got the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you know, all throughout the Cold War. But these have got very clever technologies. But it started off as an IR guided missile, which is why it's fire and forget. AMRAAMs, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what their guidance is. Obviously terminal guidance, but I don't know how they really work. But anyway, so yeah, back to the thing. This is a great all-around fighter. Low altitude, 5% ECM. That's decent. You know, for that price, it's a very capable fighter. Yeah, shame we don't have any 9-kilometer missiles, but whatever. I'll take these. Cool, Strike Eagle. I have a problem with the Strike Eagle because I think this is too much. I don't actually want to take this much stuff on it. So I could make it slightly cheaper, but you know what, I may as well have the extra pair of missiles. In case we want to shoot down a helicopter, you need 2 Sidewinders potentially to do that. Hopefully not, but you know, for the sake of an extra 35 points, I mean, it's an expensive plane regardless, you know, I may as well have the higher price tag. I think. So I actually don't want 8 and 12 rocket bombs. I'd rather just have 8 clusters, but unfortunately you don't really have the choice to do that. What you can do is 4 clusters and fuel tanks, but 4 isn't enough. Ideally, I'd actually have 6. But again, that's not really an option. And if you do take something from here, you drive the price really high in the rest of the deck. You could take these bombs, but they're not high drag bombs. So to do a low level drop, you can't have these, because as soon as you press carpet bomb, these things will start, the plane will go high altitude to try and drop them, which is really frustrating. Unless you do some good bit of micro in fairness and switch these off. But that's a lot of micro, and I don't want to do too much micro, especially in the heat of battle where you could get easily distracted. So yeah, no thank you. This is the setup I run, and I would recommend it. I do think it works really well. The problem is, with the Strike Eagle, even though it's got 10% ECM, I feel like there's a high chance of losing it. And this is just too many bombs, again, for what you're actually trying to do. But hey, if you destroy transport vehicles, then you can try and kill the infantry with the Snake Eyes. Fingers crossed that's what works. Right, okay, so that's the air tab, infantry, and recon tab done. Let us talk a bit about the vehicles. Now, what I love about the Thunderbolt, unlike the Sprut, is the fact that the cannon is the same as the best Abrams. So it's a 120mm cannon. It is interesting that their designation, M256, yeah, okay, so that's really interesting. The cannon name is the same, but the shells are clearly different, because the SEP V3 does the most damage, as does the Thunderbolt. So I don't actually have on this SEP any trophy. Not that you can get it. Obviously I could take the SEP V2, but not really sure what the difference would be, apart from a slightly, ever so slightly more powerful gun. So I would rather have 3 of these as extra firepower that can take a bit of hit. But realistically, what I think the best strategy to do is get 2 of these boys out front. Very tanky, very, well, it is a tank. I love the paint scheme, by the way. I do love the classic retro camo, that, you know, 80s America camo that they used to have on their tanks. Obviously now they're mostly desert painted after all the stuff that we've been involved in. But anyway, 2 of these out front with 4 of these slightly behind, providing some extra fire support. That is absolutely the way I'd love to run these vehicles. Now, that gun is fantastic. That does a lot of damage. Will shoot through Russian armor for 140 points. That's a lot of damage that you can do. And yeah, with this thing in front of it soaking up the stuff, I think that could work really well. Obviously, this is something to get out sort of not behind. I mean, you could put these behind, but why would you? Because these are 100 points cheaper. These are sort of independent tanks that you can still, you know, if you face Russian ATGMs, you can still smoke and withdraw. Also, by the way, don't panic smoke. Don't panic smoke all your tanks. If you've got 3 tanks, smoke the first one, all of them can retreat. Smoke the second, smoke the third, you've still got 3 smokes left. Be careful with your smoke, don't be too liberal with it. Which is something that I see players do quite a lot. Pro tip from Lima there. Now, okay, so there's the vehicles. Very interesting. Now, support. Also a great bit of support. Patriots. 2 Patriot Pack 2s. Best, okay, almost the best. Arguably, the S300 with the 2 4,500 missiles are the best in game. But the Patriot 2 does like to hit. The Pack 2 does just like to hit its target, and it will one-shot most aircraft. So yeah, great bit of kit. I do love using these. We do have some Shorad. We do have some Avengers, which I'll get onto in a second. But let's talk about the fire support that I've got. Do have the RT. I have put this this camo on all of my vehicles just for fun. I don't need really 3 bits of RT. 2 bits of RT with laser guided is enough, but the problem with the Iron Thunder is the fact that it has hardly any rounds, which is, to be honest, the reason you'll take 3, so that you don't potentially fire with laser guidance, which is why we've got the snipers, right, and these Humvees. With laser guidance, I'm not sure that the best strategy, let's just make it 10,000, there we go, beautiful. I'm not sure that the best strategy is to just use these as regular Russian RT. You know, Russian RT spam, just keep firing, keep firing, keep firing. Get laser targeted and just use 1 bit of RT at a time to kill that. Or 2 maximum, you know? I really don't need 3. Anyway, whatever, that's how we've got it. Cluster warheads are laser guided too. And yeah, it's the same sort of thing. The better way to use MLRS is actually to pre-aim all 12 missiles at a target, you know, predetermined target. So busy roads or likely enemy positions of reinforcement. Do a bit of a cluster area, and then once you see those Russian tanks piling in, aim, fire. So like hold fire, then as you see them rolling in, release the hold fire, and you'll do a huge amount of damage. This is especially useful on maps like Kaliningrad for bridges. Just keep that locked onto a bridge forever, and yeah, it's 300 points. It's a lot. That's the same price as a tank, but this will rip apart a lot of vehicles if you time it well, which is really not that hard to do, to be honest. It's a little bit of micro, but you know, if you hotkey, yeah, it's really not that hard. Obviously, we've got the MTV and the light MTV for supplies. I didn't want to bring this one out because it's way too slow and it's 5,000, whereas this is 4,500, so I'd rather it does a speedier return. Excuse me, sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking here. Avengers, right. So, obviously, the para drop is what I want to do, which is why we haven't upgraded it, because then you lose para dropping ability, despite the weight not actually going up, which is interesting. But anyway, this vehicle is fantastic. I do love the double stinger setup. You obviously want it double stinger, don't do single stinger, that's really silly. And you get a beefy gun on it as well. Obviously, it's a 50 cal. Wish it did a bit more damage, but okay. Yeah, and the thing is, you can sling load these under Chinooks. So, talk about Lima specials, right? It would. Can you sling load these? Oh, you can even paradrop Brutuses. I didn't know that you could paradrop them. That is interesting. They're not even. Okay, they're pretty heavy actually, but that's interesting to just drop this off by helicopter or by. You know, by plane in the rear lines and just keep shooting stuff from the back. It'd be a bit weird, but I think it'd take people a while, or like the more unexperienced players, a while to figure out what's going on. I'm pretty sure, can the Slam Ram be helicoptered as well? 12,500, how much can the Chinook carry? Oh, wow, okay, so yeah, that is the maximum weight lift. So actually, it could potentially be worth getting a Slam Ram in, with the AIM-9s, of course, the Sidewinders, to try and just shoot down some stuff. Yeah, it's giving me a lot of food for thought here, because I can take 2 Avengers or 1 Slam Ram. Yeah, okay, I'll take 2 Avengers, but it's something that we can try to do for some, you know, fun kind of play. We could take 2 Chinooks and just drop off a shit ton of stuff behind their lines. Obviously, the risk is if these get shot down, then game over. All those points are wasted. So yeah, the whole point of this deck is to try and power drop, is to try and Chinook stuff in very cheeky positions behind enemy lines. Great thing about the Avenger, of course, is also the fact that these have a machine gun, so they can fire at vehicles, and they're fast, so you can do a cheeky flank with them. They can almost keep up with these, 120. So yeah, great bit of kit. I can still helicopter this. Yeah, you know what? I can still helicopter it with the armor, so maybe I don't need to power drop it, but it's nice to have the option, which is what I'll keep. Anyway, helicopters, pretty standard helicopter configuration. Apaches, these are the ones that will absolutely destroy light vehicles and infantry. These will do great against them. They'll be firing all those and the cannon at the same time. Great bit of kit. Get power of these into the back of enemy lines and you will fuck shit up. Yeah, you'll do a lot of damage, which is great. The longbow. You do want it in the double Hellfire configuration. These are also fire and forget Hellfires, aka terminal guidance, basically the same thing. So yeah, that means the missile has the ability to lock on to the target and guide itself even if you lose active guidance, so you can just keep moving and firing. It does require a bit of micro that you don't overextend your Apache, because it will get shot down by Pansiers like that. And but otherwise, these things are just fantastic. I do love the Apache. It's a super ugly but super gorgeous bit of engineering at the same time. I do love the longbow. Right, these are just obviously anti-helicopter helicopters. There's not much to say about them, apart from for some reason they have 20% ECM, which I think is ridiculous for such a dorky little mini Bell Huey or whatever the original manufacturer is. But yeah, you get 2 Stingers on each side. It's not great, but for 90 points you can't complain too much. I wish I had little birds instead, but whatever. They do have 20% ECM. Very slow though. 205 is very slow. I should mention that Chinook's actually faster than Apaches, and there's a clip on YouTube of, I don't know, I think English people have seen it a lot, where there's a medevac. So these Chinooks were obviously used a lot for MERT, medical emergency response teams, which would obviously help soldiers that have been hit in Afghan, right? Either by IED or small arms or whatever. Anyway, great bits of kit. You know, you'd get a medical team and you could fit like 4 stretchers in the back. So really great lifesavers. And they'd used to go out with Apache escorts, which would obviously help shoot the jihadis as well. So yeah, and essentially the medical crew, the captain goes to the medical crew. We can go fast without the escort. Sorry, we can go slow with the escort or fast, but we'd lose the Apache escort. And obviously the soldier in the back was in really bad condition, and all the medics had time to say was, yeah, go fast. And obviously, yeah, that I'm not sure if the guy made it. I hope he did. I'm not sure that he did, but yeah, that's life. That's war, unfortunately. So yeah, Chinooks I have a lot of respect for, and I have a lot of respect for Apaches too. But anyway, a bit of a sentimental note towards the end there. Sorry about that. It is just a game. We don't want to talk about it too much, but obviously I do serve in the armed forces, and it's yeah, something that, you know, you appreciate a lot more when you hear about the great deeds that Chinooks and obviously Chinook crews, MERT crews have done for our servicemen and women. So yeah, but anyway, back to the game. This is the deck. It is it's, you know, as a deck that I'm actually quite excited to use. It's also cool that the LMTV can be power dropped, so you can power drop supplies and keep ferrying this to your troops, or just put the troops on the vehicle like so. These can be power dropped too, which is really cool. Very tempted to just drop them behind enemy lines and just, you know, drive and shoot. Keep shooting and scooting, not giving the enemy a chance to destroy my vehicles. Right. That's enough about this deck. I hope you like it. I hope it gives you some good inspiration about what you want to do for your decks, because that's what these videos are all about. They're about talking about how units can be used well, ideas for you to try out, tactics, tips and tricks kind of thing. But ultimately, you make the deck your own. You know how you like to use your units the best, Nobody else knows it. I don't know what your playstyle is, but this is what worked well for me. And I'm going to upload videos of me using this deck, in action. So I hope you look forward to seeing them. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thanks as always for you guys for sticking with me and giving me support. You know, I've started this channel just for Broken Arrow, and even though the game seems to be slowing down, the interest in the game seems to be slowing down, I'm glad that people still enjoy my videos. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting me on Patreon and on my shop, by the way. Look in the description below. I just made a shop just for banter, really, but yeah, it's pretty funny. It's actually pretty good stuff. You know, I've bought some stuff for my wife, which she you know, hates and loves at the same time. She doesn't like me doing too much YouTube. But yeah, anyway, if you feel like giving me a bit of extra support because I don't make that much on YouTube, then yeah, feel free to do it. It's all in the description. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you watching and sticking with me. I do hope to keep seeing you again. And yeah, see you around. Cheers. Join my Discord. Bye bye.